Greetings and welcome to another installment within the architecture files. Here I'm writing out the U factor and the solar heat gain coefficient. So to give some background information, this is a project I inherited. I joined this firm called NextGen Vision in October of 2023. Before that, I was solo for like 7 years, which was a great period. I did a lot of projects, got my architecture license, got some teaching experience in. So this is a project I inherited there. So here I'm cleaning up the notes. We'd like to get them nice and organized and easy to read. This was done by a previous project manager, I believe. I only know the current project manager, David. Oh, there's a glitch on my license right there. You see that? It says licensed Cheetect. Well, it did before. I'm importing it from the new one here. Man, digital products are great. They made our lives a lot easier, but there's also the glitch and everything occasionally. So here we like to lay everything out on the sheets. And then these are the corrections from the authority having jurisdiction. And we have to write a response to each one in certain jurisdictions. And certain jurisdictions send out a massive pamphlet. Some jurisdictions aren't as bad. Some are really quick, especially on smaller residential projects. But there are some where they go really in depth. And a lot of jurisdictions won't require documentation of the building systems, but this particular jurisdiction does. So since they're requiring so much information from these sheets, I know the floor plan page is going to be packed, so I got to get the sections out of there. So we got to draw in the vent for the not the for the dryer. What happened? So for the there's a stacked washer and dryer. The dryer needs a vent. We have to draw that in, and so the arrow is going to go through there. So the room tag for the closet needs to move a bit. So here the vent is going to go through the roof. I prefer the vent going through the wall, to be honest with you, but a lot of times that's not possible, and we end up having to vent the dryer through the roof. We use Revit, as you can see. I used to be all Rhino back in the day, but I had this teaching job in 2021 and 2022, and we were teaching Revit, and I had to really learn my Revit for that. And since then, I actually did two projects in Revit for my own practice. And then when I went back to working for a firm, the firm is all Revit. So it happened to work out, and it was a perfect transition because Revit is actually the ideal tool for construction documentation. So most authority having jurisdictions, when they send you the corrections, they want you to answer each one. So here I'm writing my responses within their handout. Show termination event on plans. So I'm telling them what page they could find that on. I wrote event added to floor plan on A02, note added underneath revision cloud, and then provide note on plans, provide note on plans. So then I'm scrolling through to see, man, it's kind of daunting when you see this 16-page thing and each one has like 20 corrections on it. And then there's that, and then there's the drawing set that's marked up. They're two different files. So here I'm going to the Title 24 Part 6 Energy Report to reference because the systems need to be represented on our architectural plans. So the Title 24 Part 6 report, it's a funny thing. Everyone calls it the Title 24 report, but Title 24 is actually the whole building code in California. It's Title 24 Part 6. So why don't we call the architectural plans Title 24? Because it is part of it. Why don't we call the structural plans Title 24? So here I'm putting out the AC unit. We typically don't draw in the ducts unless we really have to. That would be more of a mechanical engineer's scope. We don't have a mechanical engineer on this particular project, or an electrical engineer, or a plumbing engineer. Those come in on larger projects. Here it's architectural, structural, and energy. So again, I wrote out the response on the city's handout, and now I need to rearrange the sheets. We're making space on the floor plans for all the stuff they're asking for. So we need to have our elevations and our sections on a new sheet. And the way I work is I do things off the page and figure out where things need to go, and then I bring them onto the sheet. All right, so pop quiz. Why is Revit the ideal tool for construction documents versus, AutoCAD or Rhino? So, okay, the answer is Revit is BIM software, building information modeling. So when you draw a wall, it has the information of a wall within it. When you draw a window, it has the information of a window within it. When you draw a roof, it has the information of a roof within it. When you draw your concrete foundations, it has the, et cetera, et cetera. Versus Rhino, where everything is a surface, AutoCAD, where everything is a surface, and you're really like building a model by hand and then cutting your plan in section and drawing it by hand. By the way, I'm noticing on my elevations and sections, I have the, I mean, it's not a big deal because we have details zoomed in for it, but on the top, on the parapet, I have the downspout, the edge of it at the top of the parapet where it should be at the bottom. So thank goodness that there is the detail where I draw it correctly. But see, that's the thing with these documents, we really need someone to watch them over. We got a lot of projects at NinthGen Consulting Group, and it's like we're turning them around, but we really should get into the habit of getting each other to look at our drawings before submitting, which we kind of do, but we should do that more in depth. But now that I'm thinking about it, it's an imperfection in the drawing, and these things always happen. Okay, so I'm putting in the garage door, existing garage door to be closed, etc., etc. But yeah, that's a minor. I mean, these drawing documents get so dense, and there's so many sheets for each project. When you think about it, it's inevitable that they're going to be small, tiny. See, the thing is, we have general contractors who are licensed, who know how to read a set of plans, who know how things should be on the site, and they obviously know to look at the detail drawing for how the details should be versus the overall thing. All right, so again, answering the city's objections to get a building permit. What it really comes down to, what architects do is we get building permits for clients, and that is the bread and butter. So I mentioned our project manager, I mentioned our CEO. We also have Sam Palladian, who is the general contractor, also co-owner, co-founder of NinthGen Consulting Group. We also have Hike, what was his last name? Hike. It'll come to me. We also have David Malian, who is a foreman who works with the general contractor, Sam Palladian. Oh, Hike's last name is Gregorian. Hike Gregorian. I forgot he has the same last name as Gev. So what I'm doing here, I'm working on the site plan. They had a requirement where they wanted to see the sidewalk and the center line of the street. So I'm drawing that in. And also the patch of landscaping that's in between the sidewalk and the street. So we label the dimensions of the property lines. And, this is a template that we have at NextGen Vision, and it's a very good template. So here we're putting in the water meter and the size of the water meter. So we got the water meter, right? We got the water heater, which we're gonna draw in later. We have the gas meter. We have the electrical meter. And then we have the air conditioning unit that's outside. And then we have any utility poles, and all that makes its way into the site plan. And then with the air conditioning, there are ducts, but obviously that would make its way into a reflected ceiling plan or something like that. So I'm referencing Google Earth. I'm referencing the LA assessor's records and documents to draw in any curb cuts that are existing, any driveways that are existing. And that's what you're seeing here. And I'm using masks. I'm using all the tools that Revit has, detail lines, etc. Because even though this is BIM software, and when we make an object, we can look at it from top view, side view, and floor plan, section, etc. Certain things still have to get drawn in, and that's why we have things like detail lines. So you're seeing there's a 2% slope guiding the rainwater to the street. You're seeing the hatch for the concrete, which is the dot, 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 dot. That implies concrete. You're seeing the green, which is the grass. You're seeing dash lines. You're seeing solid lines. And this is very much a work in progress. I'm still getting the elements of the site plan into the drawing. and we haven't really fully honed down into the drawing yet, which is going to be done basically by the end of the video. I mean, a good amount of the work was done by the previous project manager that worked at this firm a couple years back. So this project came back to us, and the way architecture firms work typically that are in the act of obtaining building permits is certain projects get put into the city, and then another project comes back and you work on that one, and then that one gets entered into the city, and then another one comes back, and you have different projects at different phases. Some are in the schematic design phase, they're just getting designed. Some are in the design development phase. Some are in the construction documents phase. This one is between design development and construction documents. Some are in construction. And then, some are even before that, some are even in pre-design. Some the contract hasn't been signed yet. So you have projects that are in any one of the various stages. Here you see the 3D model, and you see we got two skylights up there. We got windows being punched in, a door being punched in, garage door being closed. So since it's an existing garage, there has to be a lot of work done to it. There's going to have to be insulation put into the thing. By the way, no podcast episode this week. I don't know. Excuse me. I don't know if you guys have seen, I have a podcast with Nico Solingaros and Ant Sussman and Nir Boris, and we had Bin Jiang join, and then we had Camille Khan Mumtaz join. And it's a really fun time. It's a really great podcast. But we're going to pick it back up next week, and we might have a special guest. So tune in. But yeah, today we're documenting what architects actually do. Right? This is what we do. We sit and we stare at a computer and we make construction documents for our clients that are passed on to general contractors who get the thing built for clients. So it's really, I mean, architecture school kind of lied to us in a lot of ways, but it is a beautiful lie. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. I love all the designs I did in architecture school, even though some of them are very impractical. It's a place where we are all architects and we're all designing 100,000 square foot museums, and we're having a great time. We're staying up all night. At the time, it doesn't seem like a great time. It seems terrible, but looking back on it now, that might have been the best time of my life. So that's an existing driveway. What am I even doing here with this? Trying to remember what I was doing. Am I putting a masking region on top of the line to make it look like a dashed line? That might be what I was doing. I might have had no other option. Sometimes the software gets a bit glitchy, especially when you have this much information in it. So, man, I have some raps in my head that I can't wait to record. If you haven't checked out the Architects mixtape, you really have to check that out. The last one was Leonardo da Vinci versus Michelangelo. Leonardo. These are existing photos, by the way. God glow when I draw, throw versions of crossbows into the cosmos. Leonardo, Pop won't marry my mom, so they call me Bastardo. Yup, Leonardo, illegitimate child. I know they said I got no shot for getting ish in this life, but Leonardo won't be just prospering. I'm conquering the art scene with the armies that I'm conjuring. Leonardo. From Vinci, brush simply, just lifts me publicly, sculpt briskly, you just whimsy, come diss me, Michelangelo. You're a phony at best, this holding in Florence you spent years on, holding the edge of a chisel looks forced, it's a mess. You should sketch at least a portion and then check the proportions again, it's bad. Your career comes slow to an end. What am I doing? I'm holding a pen. You know what the goat represents. Hence, you're so intense. Hold up again. I'm dropping your top when I spit off of the top, but not on the car. I mean your cap, cause it's no cap when I'm dropping this track. Michelangelo, you're not in this class. I'm cutting back on my cursing. And when I first wrote that one, I had a couple curse words in there, but in the middle of writing that song, I stopped cursing. Wait, where was I? Michelangelo, you're not in this class. Your time's up. Michelangelo, you're not in this class. Now wind up watching me smash your drawings of trash, cause you're not in this class, cause you can't fuse the art with the math. I dip the brush and paint the ocean, hear the water just splash. All you've done is pocket some cash. Man, what about the wealth of the drawings and plans you want to surpass my last supper's spot in advance of the shots that you cast? So here I think I'm labeling the existing CMU fence. Yeah. So fences and walls, we usually have to label what type of fence it is, sometimes what height it's at, et cetera, et cetera. And sometimes we'll just put in VIF, verifying field, because we're not exactly sure. We haven't had access to every part of the site as the architect on the project. So yeah, again, this is just getting the site plan more detailed. He can't wait to say, "Hey, your drawings are." Wait, no, the varnish, Michelangelo, the varnish on some Michelangelo paintings ended up being cracked. He can't wait to say, "Hey, your varnish is cracked," but he won't glance at or ask about my warships and cannons, my astronomical accuracy with models of planets, calling me bastard a coddled little halfwit. So calling Michelangelo a coddled little halfwit just happened to fit in with that rhyme scheme, and I was like, "Oh, that's perfect," because Leonardo was broke for a lot of his life, and Michelangelo was pretty wealthy. Okay, so also, what's part of my day that's kind of unique to me is making thumbnails for my YouTube videos. I do that in Photoshop. So this was a thumbnail for a video called My Architecture Portfolio Explained. I highly recommend it. You should check it out. So yeah, I use the brush tool. I use the polygonal lasso a lot. Um, I use brightness, contrast editing, color balance, levels sometimes. I'll sometimes just get a black paintbrush tool and I'll just paint the corners to darken the corners. Sometimes I'll copy everything, paste it on top, merge layers, and then blur it a little bit with a Gaussian blur, and then erase out the center of it or the focal point. Photoshopping in a photo of a model of this project I made. This project was made out of basswood. This was a residential project I did when I was solo. It's a single family residence, 3 stories. It has a guest quarters on the ground floor. Where was I with the track? Calling me bastard, coddled little halfwit. All of my fabrics get drawn at dawn with the drapery. Y'all are just madmen with ads to add up the papacy. I made papacy. Light, shade, take a knee. Cross, bows, y'all. Froze. It's Leonardo da Vinci. Did my followers miss me? To me, y'all are just children. Renaissance in the building. Yeah, the Wright brothers took flight with my book. But Michelangelo, you acted like I'm a crook. Michelangelo. You're just an empty vessel pumping envy, ugly dressing, over 2 decades younger than me, but you slouch like you're older. I stand like a soldier. These hands were to mold the map of a mola. Powerful Owen, more accurate than a satellite. Would have been drawn at 1502 under candlelight. Look again. I'm a scientist. I'm a painter. I'm a sculptor. You're a vulture. By the way, I have so many new ideas for songs in my head that I just need the time to sit out and write out and record. So they're in the works. I mean, they're not really in the works yet. They're thoughts in my head, but someday the architect's mixtape shall continue. Right now, I'm really in my architecture brain, as you can probably tell with the content I'm putting out on here and Twitch and Instagram and TikTok and LinkedIn. I'm a cartographer, which you wanna be, but you half-assed it when you copied me. I'm an artist, inventor, sir. You're a bull dispenser. I was about to say you're about to get clocked like Big Ben, sir. But I mean that didn't really fit in with the rest of what was going on, so I didn't say that part. I'm the greatest. You can't debate this. On the A list, you barely made it. The fungus of art had a silver spoon. Compositions need space, but you don't give much room. Nincompoop, I give you an incomplete history. Prove your second fiddle to me. Riddle me this. What's the shape of Italy? You get the boot. Pah. Safe to say he skipped the beat. Believe you me, we're on 2 different frequencies. You imitate, I innovate so ceaselessly. Bruh, please, my paintings make the reaper flee. Michelangelo, none of the skills you've seen come free, but to me they come easily, vis-a-vis. Architect you can't compete with. Meek, my sketches set bridges and cathedrals free. Through brush strokes, see the Mona Lisa breathe. I put more info than your life on a single sheet, cause G, my knowledge of anatomy runs deep. Come see what the real rebirth be. Whoever hears the word polymath will think of me. And then Michelangelo takes over. So this is another thumbnail for a different video. Was this? Yeah, this was. I don't know if I changed it, but I had it. Yeah, I did. Oh no. Yeah, I had an alternate thumbnail. So then Michelangelo takes over. The promises of this world are vain, so I confide in myself. That's actually a Leonardo. Sorry, that's actually a Michelangelo quote. The promises of this world are vain, so I confide in myself. So the Michelangelo verse, I actually started off with this quote. The promises of this world are vain, so I confide in myself. I'm a worthy great Il Divino. Il Divino is one of Michelangelo's nicknames. So this is another thumbnail I made for another video called My Recent Architectural Designs. And those are still in the works, and some of them I have to pick up and work on more. So actually the podcast I have, oh, and then this is a thumbnail for the podcast that I make next. But it got me thinking, and some of those projects I'm going to shift and take a more traditional classical approach. So in my rap battle between Leonardo and Michelangelo goes, the promises of this world are vain, so I confide in myself I'm a worthy great Il Divino. Oh, they call you Bastardo, that's hard, bro. See, they call me Michelangelo Il Divino. They were all calling me the divine, even my rival artists who sparred with me in my prime. Thank you to Anabolic Beats. You brought me back to life with my appetite to create, so I guess I'll rap tonight. Il divino, il principio, there seems to be no equal to me, so release your ego, Leonardo. What you wanna compete with me for? You were so peaceful, now I'ma serve you like a bistro. Observe the mighty Cristo, yours is not the keystone. Devils get cast to the sea, repent for challenging me. Cha. The actual master of anatomy who dissected casualties as a teen. Not a single one of your travesties is ever surpassing the esteem Sistine Chapel ceiling. If you were on my team, you do the plaster mixing. Only godly hands paint here, it's a Vatican thing. Take it up with them. Yeah, you're older, but you're a tadpole to me. Anyway, so here I'm very Tekken inspired with some of my thumbnails. That's Heihachi Mishima, Kazuya Mishima, and Jinpachi Mishima. I was debating using Jin, but I ended up using Kazuya in the center. And in the background, that's a building that Nikos and Nir were telling me about that I've been looking into. And it's a pretty interesting building. It actually has some, what do you call that? Re-entrant corners. And they create public spaces. It has, I think I counted, was it 8? 8 re-entrant corners? Or was it 4? But there were a couple public spaces created. There was one on the front side and one on the rear side. And it was a very large museum building in DC. I think it was called, was it the National Gallery of DC? Yeah, really interesting building. I thought it looked like a stretched out Villa Rotunda, but apparently it's a more original piece. I mean, obviously, it is an original piece designed specifically for that site. Near Boers pointed out that classical buildings, they only have 2 ways to mark the entry. It's either a temple front or a triumphant arch. And I thought that was super interesting. And I've been looking into both uh, because for these projects, I got to incorporate one or the other. All right, so here, let's see. Okay, valley flashing, garage to ADU conversion, stem wall. Yeah, there's just a bunch. And what I do is I scroll through the requirements and then I make my rounds and go back and incorporate them and then go back. So I'll try to scroll through all of the city's comments and familiarize myself with everything that has to be done with the full scope, and then go back and make multiple laps around the project. And that's a term I got actually from Michael Rosica. He recommended making multiple rounds around each architect registration exam division, which for some people that really works. But for me personally, actually, it didn't work, and I had to just look at the question once, make my final answer, and move on, and not come back to that question again, because I barely made it in the nick of time every time I took an architect registration exam division. So here you're seeing the sections. By the way, let me make sure my audio is lined up with the video. Where are we at? 24. Okay, I think yeah, it's just right. So they also want to see the property lines on the elevations, especially when you're close to the edges, because this existing garage had pretty much a zero setback on some sides. I mean, here it was like 6 inches away. But yeah, so on our elevations also, we show the property lines sometimes. Obviously, on the site plan, you see it and you see how the building is arranged on the lot. But on the elevations where you're looking at the building from basically eye level, how a human being is going to see it, seeing the property lines on there is also helpful. So, and then here you see the levels. We have multiple levels set up and the heights, denoting where the parapet ends, where the floor is, where the ceiling is, and the precise heights, the exact heights of these things. And then on the window, the height of that from the floor, because when you need an egress window, it's important for that to be dimensioned. Yeah, you're older, but you're a tadpole to me. As you have seen, they leave the important task to the king. You just who my current target happened to be. Leo just thinks he's special because they passed him to me. Man, what'd you think would happen battling me, huh? I'm why you're a capital L on your family tree. Leonardo. I've made in a day what you get annually. Lee, you might need to get those inventions to land you a fee. Cha-ching. Who knew I'd lyrically be packing the heat? Pow! That pow was inspired by battle rapper New Jersey Twerk. He always has that gun sound in his raps. Pow! Who knew I'd lyrically be packing the heat? Bow! You drew to what light you couldn't hold a candle to me? Supernatural being. Actually, your majesty, back in Galilee they picked up stones for stoning me for blasphemy. Only in your fantasies you're really a match for me. I can uphold, sir, like tapestry. Dismantling you casually and all your whimsicality. The structures you design just don't dance with gravity like mine. The dome and pilasters be lifetimes of experience thrown at your galaxy. I'm the faculty, you're an absentee. When I sculpt, my heartbeat is what the hammer be. Lyrically, naturally. You're a has-been in atrophy, unworthy of setting up my scaffolding, full of vanity, the audacity, bring your cavalry. The Medici family had the decency to help you out a bit financially. I didn't, you're mad at me, tragedy. It's late at night, so say goodbye, bro. You couldn't get the cash, now you want to lay on our door. Lay in agony, drop the act, go back to the academy. I used to create bashfully, but now I'll happily outshine you in every damn capacity. The audacity, check your tonality before we point out every fallacy. Dismantling you casually, like you said, silver spoon. I was a baby near a stone quarry. Inside of my milk, I drank marble dust. I was bound to be the sculptor that God would trust. Me and my sculptures, you can't rock with us. Get it? We are the Renaissance, it's us. Take a cathedral design and rip it up. Behold St. Peter's Basilica. Man, St. Peter's Basilica is a crazy one. I think that's Michelangelo. I think he worked with Borromini on that one. And that's an incredible structure. I'm really going to start digging into that one and looking at it and getting inspired by it because I haven't looked at that building enough, but it is incredible. Definitely worth studying. Behold St. Peter's Basilica. Baroque, I'm branching out the Renaissance. Done a lot since you and all your friends were gone. And you think you're better than me at architecture. Psh. But you also think you could sculpt a better quadricep, sure. Feel all the pressure. Your time is coming. This is the final judgment. So that was. Oh, and then on the screen, when I said that, I had Michelangelo's painting, The Last Judgment. This is the final judgment. I'm the one the Pope entrusted to really depict the ultimate subject. Embodying the essence of classical antiquity through the unseen depicted visibly, il divino, expressing the creation process vividly, expressing what is unseen. This is me, il divino, the juxtaposition of beauty and death. You look at the marble, but you see the flesh. Don't act like you don't know me. Michelangelo di Ludovico. Buonarroti, Simone, Buonarroti, il divino, the only. So I was just saying Michelangelo's full name. He has a really long full name. So yeah, labeling the property lines here. New stucco to match existing. Quarter inch equals a foot scale. So some jurisdictions, they're very specific on the scale they want the drawings at. It's plans, elevation sections at quarter inch equals a foot scale here in this jurisdiction. And then site plan at 1/16 of an inch equals a foot scale. And the sheets we're using are 24 inches by 36 inches, which is pretty standard, pretty typical. Sometimes you'll use a slightly larger sheet on larger projects that are not residential. If it's a commercial or a mixed use or something like that, you'll usually have, what was the sheet size? I forget. It's a little bit larger than 24 by 36. Let's see, sheet sizes. But 24 inches by 36 inches is a perfect size for these sheets. So it's giving me bed sheets. No page. Okay, so obviously there's letter, which is 8.5 by 11. There's the tabloid, which is 11 by 17. I really love tabloid sheets too. I use them a lot for my personal notes, for printouts, for things I'm sketching, for ideas I'm looking at. And then there's a 12 by 18. There's a 13 by 19. So yeah, the 24 by 36 is a common large one. And then what's the next one? It's 27 by 40. Okay, so there's another sheet size is 27 inches by 40 inches. Yeah, it's a bit, I mean, it seems a bit random. Oh, it's not. Okay, so there's this, I think there's a diagram of, it looks like it's growing in the golden rectangle. That's interesting. In the golden ratio. The sheet sizes, roughly, very roughly. Okay, so we got the skylight called out. So yeah, we cross-reference a lot of documents when we're creating this. We cross-reference the energy report that we got from the gentleman who did the energy calculation. Sometimes it's a mechanical engineer, sometimes it's not. I noticed mechanical engineers do make really good energy consultants. And then there's the structural consultant, which usually it's a civil engineer on residential projects. Sometimes it's a structural engineer. But yeah, I mean, it's. I think there's one additional exam for the structural engineer stamp, but it is, I think, a few exams for the civil engineer stamp. And I think the only thing that you can not stamp structurally as a civil engineer is the structural portion of a hospital. So a few seconds ago, I was in the middle of saying something. So you saw me looking at the 3D model. So I do like looking at the 3D model in Revit, and I use the section box. There's a button you click on the left in that menu in the properties. It says section box. You click section box when you're in a 3D view, and you can drag down the section box and see what the floor plan looks like, what the section looks like, and you could cut through your 3D model, and it kind of helps visualize it. Okay, so on exterior elevation sections, dimension of distance from eave to property line. Okay, so my response, dimension from eave to property lines added to elevations and sections on A-01. So I'm telling them what page they could find it on. And, I'm getting more specific. I just edited the text. I do that a lot. I type it out. I read it. I want to rewrite it just slightly. It's multiple F's, just like Michael Rosica said. But I'm applying it to going through city corrections. So I'm wondering why I'm not, maybe I had already incorporated, or maybe we didn't have markups on the drawing. No, I'm sure we did. But anyway, the documents I'm reviewing here are the letter size corrections the authority having jurisdiction gives you. They give you letter size corrections, and they give you full size markups on your drawings. And they are drastically different from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, the things that are required. In LA, it's pretty straightforward. and we have our system down. We're getting it down in Glendale. And this is the documentation they want to see on your cover sheet. They want to see all the consultants involved and license numbers, architect's contact information. Each sheet must bear the signature, registration number, and expiration date of the registered design professional and responsible charge licensed in the state of California. And obviously, you can't use the term architect if you aren't licensed to practice architecture. Let's see, security notes. Comply with attached residential security standards and incorporate pages into plans. Note on plans. All doors and windows shall meet City of Glendale's security ordinance. And then they're letting us know to remove plans, details, and notes that do not pertain to the project. Okay. So my response to number 7, pages added to Gen, which is the general notes sheet. And again, I'm scrolling through. I'm looking for things that have not been done yet. Shalom chaverim, shalom chaverim, shalom, shalom, lehitraot, lehitraot, shalom, dun dun dun, shalom. Shalom chaverim. Shalom is a word like ciao. In Hebrew, shalom is hello, and it's goodbye, and it's peace. I think it's similar to ciao in Italian. But yeah, what a beautiful word, shalom. Oh, it has the om at the end of it, shalom, om. You know, om in a lot of Eastern mythicism, om is the sound of reverberance, of resonance, is the sound that possibly transcends all other sounds. You know, some people will argue that that's the sound that created the entire universe. Okay, so smoke detector. Yeah, there's a minimum distance of the smoke detector from the cooktop, from the stovetop. And it actually changes depending on what type of smoke detector slash carbon monoxide detector it is. And I'm verifying here. Okay, so smoke alarm must be at least 20 feet from a permanently installed cooking appliance. And that's from the California Residential Code, R314.3.3. Smoke alarms are permitted to be at least 10 feet away from permanently installed cooking appliances if the smoke alarm is an ionization smoke alarm with alarms silencing switch or photoelectric smoke alarm in accordance with, again, the California Residential Code, CRC R314.3.3. And then I believe 4 under that gives you any exceptions. Show on plans the location of hardwired smoke alarms. Yeah, we did that in each sleeping room, outside each separate sleeping area, in the immediate vicinity of the bedrooms, on each story, basement, and habitable attic. Provide note on plans. Smoke alarm shall comply with specific location requirements per NFPA 7.2. So you'll notice I'm writing in green. This comes in handy on the drawing set on the full size because the drawings are done in grayscale most of the time. There might be some little elements with color if there's emphasis, but the city's corrections come in red. And then when we write our responses to what they said, obviously we want it to stand out. So we write them in like a dark green so it's still legible, but it's not in black because then it'll be mixed up with something that was in the original submission, and it's not in red because then it might be mixed up with something the city said. And then sometimes, especially in this particular jurisdiction, building and safety will give you comments in red, and planning and zoning will give you comments in purple. So there are multiple departments that need to sign off on a set of plans, and they all come in with their own color coded thing. So it's you gotta really respond to make it clear so you can make it easy for them to review. So as you can see, this is the correction list for 2022, and it's based on 2 sets of documents. It's based on the California Residential Code, and it's based on the California Building Code. So the California Building Code comes from the International Building Code. It's been adopted by California, and there have been some very slight modifications made to it. So addition, remodel under 50% valuation, fire sprinklers are not required for. So let's see here. Fire permits. Following permits are required from the fire department: fire sprinkler, fuel modification, landscaping. Note, only the check-marked items shall be listed on the plan, omit all others. Required fire department inspections for this project are listed below. Okay. Please see and address additional comments on items marked in red upon original plan checks submittal. Yeah, so that would refer to the full-size corrections that are marked up on the drawing set, on the actual 24 by 36. This is the letter size document. To speed up the recheck process, note on this list or copy where each correction item has been made. So that's what I was saying, that we have to mark this up and let them know where they can find each of their concerns being addressed on the updated set. We'll put revision clouds sometimes. You'll see me doing that on this set. Sometimes we don't. A statement shall be provided on the cover of the plans identifying that the structural design and details fully conform to all appropriate requirements of this code, the California Residential Code. Should a portion, so they want to know which part is for the California Residential Code, which part is with the California Building Code, because they're slightly different from each other. Define roof drainage. Okay, so that's one we're about to get into. Show downspout and location of ground surface, which shall be at least 5 feet from, what was it? Shall be at least 5 feet from foundation wall or to an approved drainage system. Show roof and site drainage, how it is conducted. Multiple laps, baby. So much for thinking more like a chef. You know what I mean? Chef, I made that video, I think it was January 1st. I said, from now on, this architect is thinking more like a chef. Imagine if a chef spent all his time trying to figure out how to make sure the food is safe to eat and it meets the health and safety code. No, a chef spends time thinking about flavor profiles and making sure the food looks nice and that it's pleasant, etc., etc. But yeah, back to thinking like an architect slash draftsman. But the chef is coming. Chef architecture is coming. I sense it. I sense it. 2026 is gonna, I mean, 2025 is an amazing year. I can't lie. So note 3 under fire department notes on general notes sheet. Yeah, so the fire department notes, they need to be labeled separately. They want to know that these notes are from the fire department. So we put that under a separate category: smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors. Yeah, you'll see a lot of these corrections cover the same type of things, and you got to go through and group them together because they're kind of not in the best order for the architect or the urban designer or the building designer or the draftsman or whoever's working on the project. They're not in the ideal order. They're kind of scattered. So you got to go through and group the notes that pertain to a particular thing and put them in the right spot in the drawing set. So let's see, we're at 40. Oh, I think we're kind of perfect. The audio is in sync with the video. 4330. 40. Oh, it's a little bit. Yeah, I mean, we're close. I mean, when you're working with a video of this length and you're trying to get out content this quickly, it's easy to get your timestamps mixed up with the audio and the video, but we're doing a good job of that here. We're pretty close. And hey, props to your MC here. Props to Mr. Hovsepian. Hovsepian. By the way, you know what's crazy? Hovsep is the Armenian pronunciation of Joseph. So I guess if we're going back to the tribes of Israel, if I had to be corresponding to a particular tribe of Israel, I would be tribe of Joseph. Like my last name, it translates as Joseph's son. Hovsepian. Yeah, the pronunciations of names, they're a bit different, you know what I mean? So Joseph is Hovsep, Jesus is Jesus. What other names were there? By the way, this is Old Testament Joseph. Old Testament Joseph from, I think it's around the last 10 chapters of Genesis. It's an amazing story. I love the story of Joseph. Amazing, amazing story where he has a dream that I think the plants are bowing before him. Maybe the stars and the planets too, but it's like things around him are bowing before him, and he tells his family about this dream he had when he was a little kid, and they're like, "What, you think we're gonna bow before you?" Because they knew what the dream meant, but he didn't know. He's like, "No, I just want my dream interpreted." But oh, you think we're gonna bow before you? So they all start to kind of resent him. And later, he's out in the wilderness with his brothers, and they think about killing him, but one of them is like, "No, he's our brother. We can't kill him." So they throw him in a well. They take his multicolored jacket that his dad had made for him. They take He's like, "Oh, some wild animals ate him. Look, there's blood on his jacket. We just have his jacket left." And even though his father was upset about the dream, he really loved Joseph, and he was heartbroken. Uh, but Joseph was still alive. He happened to be sold into slavery in Egypt, which happened to a number of Israelites at the time, whatever that was, 4,000 years ago or whatever, 5,000 years ago. I don't know how long ago that was. Roughly, I mean, it was BC, BCE, or BC, however you want to say it. I think we're saying BCE now, before Common Era. So Joseph ends up being uh, a slave. He ends up being a slave to Potiphar, who Potiphar works for Pharaoh, and then he ends up being and then Potiphar's wife makes a move on Joseph and tries to get with him, but he says, "No, you're my master's wife. I'm gonna have nothing to do with you." And she is upset about it, and she flips the script. She says, "Oh, Joseph tried to get with me, and I rejected him." So now Potiphar hears it and throws Joseph in jail. But part of Potiphar is realizing that Joseph was right, and he's kind of starting to realize what's going on. And then the Pharaoh, the highest in command in this region, has a dream that nobody can interpret. But Joseph has been learning how to interpret dreams because he's seeing how his dream of him being in power and things bowing before him, people bowing before him, is going to come to pass. So Joseph interprets this dream for Pharaoh. Pharaoh sees 7 skinny cows, 7 fat cows. And Joseph says, "Okay, 7 years of famine. Oh, no, there's going to be 7 years of abundance and then 7 years of famine. So we have to save up." And Joseph's interpretation of the dream helps Pharaoh plan for everything and to have Egypt go through this and have enough saved up for the 7 years of famine. So 14 years go by. I mean, more than that, decades go by. And now, while Joseph is a prisoner, while he's in prison, one of his jobs is to take food to the army, and he's getting to know the generals, and he's getting to know the soldiers, and he's seeing how the army works, and he's realizing, okay, if I am going to become a ruler, a leader, if people are going to bow before me, I have to know how the army works. And me having this job as a prisoner is helping me realize how everything works together in the army, etc. And then Pharaoh makes him second to Pharaoh. And now Joseph is in a lot of ways equal to Pharaoh. And Joseph is like a king of the region. So he had to have his brothers abandon him in the wilderness, throw him down the well. He had to be sold into slavery. He had to be a prisoner for the dream to manifest. And now he is second in command to Pharaoh of the region. He's like the king. And his brothers see him. They don't recognize him. They think he's dead. And he messes with them. He throws them in jail. He's like, "Oh, you guys are here to spy." And then he's like, "Nah, it's me. It's Joseph. I know you guys meant it for evil, but what you guys meant for evil, God meant for good." what human beings mean for evil, God means for good. And I love the story of Joseph. I think it's an incredible story. But it's a common theme in the Bible. God doesn't really appear to people and help them uh, find their glory until they've gone through some shit. Some shit. Man. Yeah, David went through a lot before he was king. King David obviously had his tussle with Goliath. He had a lot of people wanting to kill him. And early in his life, he fought with stones and his fists and his sword, and he had physical altercations. But later in his life, he fought with his words. He fought with his prayers and the Psalms. He would say things along the lines of, "The hole that they dig for me, may they fall into their own hole. The spears and swords that they come at me at, may they be stuck by their own swords and spears. The trap that they create for me, may they fall into their own trap." And so now later in life, he's gone through a lot of things. He's made a lot of mistakes. He had an affair with a woman who uh, was the wife of one of the soldiers in his army. And man, what a crazy story. And David ends up impregnating her, and he doesn't want her husband to find out, so he has him set up to go to a particular battlefield during the war so he could be killed, and he ends up being killed in that battle. And just imagine the darkness of that situation. Imagine how far he is from God in that situation. So yeah, God says to him, "You're not going to build my temple because you have too much blood on your hands. But one of your descendants will." So that honor is taken from David because he had too much blood on his hands. So yeah, he impregnated this woman, didn't want the guy to find out, and ends up having him killed. But see, he has to go through all this and realize that, okay, I need to rethink. I need to readjust. I need to change. And now the way he's fighting is he is trying to attain a state of purity. He is trying to see the Lord as his shepherd. And as he's doing that, he's starting to rely on God to descend from heaven and to solve his issues, to have the people who want to murder him for Jehovah or Yahweh, however you want to pronounce it, Yod He Vav He, the Tetragrammaton, to descend from heaven and teach his opposition a lesson. Not that we don't have to do our part, right? It's not exactly us doing nothing. Even in the Eastern tradition, there's the Wu Wei, the effortless action. It's not fully non-action. It's effortless action. So it's not fully us doing nothing and just relying on God. It's us doing our part. It's a collaborative thing. God wants us to do our part. So, okay, so what do we have here? I'm looking at the 3D model in axon view. I love that in Revit, you could just click on one of those corners and it shows you the axonometric view. Or you could go to a perspective view. You could do axon, you could do isometric. You could get it at various angles. But there's that box, that cube on the top right, you could see inside of the circle. You click on different parts of that cube and it rearranges the 3D model to comply with the direction you're moving that cube in. So you can see the components, right? As you select it in blue, you can see the roof component, wall component, window component, door component, floor component, which the landing is part of the floor component. So speaking of God, there was another one I wrote. There was a Psalm of an Architect. How did it go? God of Abraham, God of everything, I'm thanking ye because you let me sing. I'll do my best. Release, empty the excess things from my mind to set this threshold. That's an important one. The threshold is I think it's usually like well, it could be made out of various things, but it's a lot of times it's sheet metal or something of the kind. It's placed underneath all exterior doors and it keeps the water out, rainwater out, moisture out. It's the threshold. It's the threshold of the door. And there's a certain height it shouldn't exceed, so it's not a tripping hazard. And that's the type of thing that we need to document on our sets. God of Abraham, God of everything, I'm thanking ye because you let me sing. Wait. I'll do my best. Release, empty the excess things from my mind to set the scene. I beg you, please. Reveal yourself to me. Da-da. Oh, why do I ask? I'm not sure. Oh, you already have? Through God's word? So here, okay, site plan. Oh, site plan was at 1/8 of an inch equals a foot. Or 1 inch equals 10 feet. Okay, so either are acceptable. I thought it was 16th, but 1/8 inch. Okay. Floor plans, 1/4 inch equals a foot. Framing plans, 1/4 inch equals a foot. Details, 1/2 inch equals a foot. Structural details and dimensions must be specific to area of reference. Do not make similar detail reference or maximum minimum dimension references. Man, see, this jurisdiction gets intense with that because that's an industry standard pretty much to do a similar detail reference, maximum minimum dimensions. No, they want exact. Okay, exterior building elevations, 1/4 inch equals a foot or 1/8 inch equals a foot. Yeah, a lot of times because, things on the site may not be exactly as you've drawn them, but this jurisdiction is saying, no, get it exact. Go to the site, figure it out, make it exactly match the conditions. So, because they don't want contractors having change orders, they don't want unforeseen situations. Okay, so what am I writing? Scales of drawings match plan requirements. Yeah, they did. I double checked. Okay, provide following drawings: architectural site, cover sheet, project information, demolition plan, proposed floor plan. Yeah, there's the sheets we had. Title cover sheet. A statement shall be made on the plans identifying that structural design fully conforms to appropriate requirements of the code. God of everything, I'm thanking ye because you let me sing. I'll do my best. Release, empty the excess things from my mind to set the scene. I beg you, please reveal yourself to me. Valley flashing, that's an important one. Where two surfaces meet at the low point, you need to have flashing. A sheet metal that folds over and is placed at the center of that so water doesn't get in, because water likes to penetrate within the joints. Why do I ask? I'm not sure. Oh, you already have through God's word? Okay, open my eyes. I just did. And I see a surface with light the sun hit. Man, I'ma zoom out, then back in to the sun, moon, stars, and planets, and it's then to rivers where shallow water causes rapids. Scale it down, I'm making sound with all my passion. Holy Spirit, guide me now. Let me sing. May my efforts be fruitful. May I submit to your will in everything and not mine. Every time I see a ladder of smoke that you've let me climb, I see a kingdom of hefty minds, but it disintegrates with hissing snakes. Many are left behind. I see a ladder of gold, but it demands submission. I stand before it in my broken down condition, and it's lifting me. I'm learning to do things more indifferently and trust in you. I'm starting to see the value of servitude. Please allow our lines to blur with you. Show us your ways. God of Moses, you parted the Red Sea. That's plausible since these are all seas that you created. If you want to see me truly make it as the architect at the level that I see myself at, it's a nanosecond for you to propel that. You know, I got up every single time I fell back, and I got the guts to take a thought and tell that through rap. I'm posting them all now. The enemy can push, but God's property won't fall down. My raw sound will call out to the God of Noah. I flood past trauma with my arc. I know, huh? My architecture. On me, you haven't lost the gesture. I confess to having been lost too, but glory to your mighty name, now I've got you. I read the Psalms of David, you're my rock too. With you he slayed Goliath. My slingshots do be my pens and pencils. Ooh, God of Elijah, my designs, my chariots of fire. God Almighty, God all-knowing, God omniscient, omnipotent. You already know that I'm making monuments, all of this and more rap to my great king. I submit to your plan. Who can't sway me from the path is no man. The life you gave me, I put back in your hand. I fear no evil and I know no lack. You showed me the deceitful of having no chance against your mighty rod and your staff. Refreshed my soul and took me to my enemies who do anything to take your glory. You set a table for me and you let them see me like my path with my lightsaber, cause all of my prayers come from the God of Isaiah. Through our weakness, we're made strong, and that's the point. So let's burst into song, shout for joy. All who serve the Lord, we prevail. All weapons formed against us, we see fail. The Lord is my shepherd. Now who can know me better? I dwell in the house of the Lord forever. The Lord's my shepherd. Who can know me better? I dwell in the house of the Lord forever and ever. Provide note on plans. Number 5 on general note sheets. Provide note on plans. Temporary toilet facilities must be provided on site. GBSC 118. Note number 6 on general note sheet. Oh man. What is, oh, there's a 1 hour fire rated. Yeah, that's a 1 hour fire rated detail. So those walls that are really close to the property line that we see on the site plan, and now on the elevations we know which walls those are too. Those have to be 1 hour fire resistance rated. So the exterior walls that are less than 3 feet from the property line need to be an hour rated. I thought it was less than, wait, 5 feet. Maybe it depends. Maybe that's a jurisdictional issue. But yeah, there's another thing when you're super close to a property line, you can't have any openings, you can't have any windows on there. You can't even have any vents. Like if you have a washer dryer there, you can't even vent it out through that wall. You have to vent it out through the roof. And it can't even be within that region of the roof that's close to that property line. It has to be at least 3 feet away from the property line. So yeah, those walls that are right on the property, they end up being, I mean, that are right on the property line, end up being just solid walls, no openings whatsoever. Obviously, if you're outside of the setback, if you're within the buildable area per right, then obviously you can have a glass wall. The whole thing can be window. The whole thing can be operable opening. You know, you can have the accordion wall that slides all the way through. That's fine. But once you need that fire rated construction, your window openings are limited to 25% of that wall. But that's just for a regular fire rated wall. If it's a fire rated wall that is on the property line or very close to the property line, then it's like no openings. But if you need a fire rated wall that's say like 4 feet from a property line or 5 feet from a property line or something like that, then you could have, I believe it's up to 25% of it being window. Let's see here, design requirements. That comes from, again, California Residential Code, habitable spaces, hallways, portions of the basement. Containing spaces should have a minimum 7 feet ceiling height. Certain places you're allowed to get down to 6'8", but most spaces they need to be 7 feet. Oh, there's a threshold detail. Half-inch max. We're at an hour 4:40. Hour 4. Yeah, wow. Yeah, this is pretty good. The audio is pretty much lined up with the video so far. I'm recording my audio in Audacity right now, and I'm reviewing the video in just a typical movie viewer in Windows. I'm editing the video in Premiere Rush. I started using Premiere Rush instead of Premiere Pro. I might go back to Premiere Pro, but I'm liking Rush as of now. The Adobe Suite is great. Okay, so here we're laying out our details on our sheets. We're getting the sheets arranged, organizing our sheets, getting them to be presentable. We have a lot of the details drawn, but a lot of the work is getting the documentation for this particular project with the tags, the door tags, window tags, also denoting where our elevations will be, where our details, where our details will be, where our callouts will be, which you can see I'm doing here. And Revit has its ways of doing this, but sometimes, again, things don't go right. Sometimes you have to just draw it by hand by detail lines. And that's why Revit has that tool for detail lines, because sometimes we do have to do things manually. We have the digital tools, but sometimes it does get very similar to what it was like when we were drawing by hand. There was an old freestyle I did years back. Kick a free if I still got it. Get your whole grill dotted with the infrared. I'm no figurehead. Draw design and get the bread. Stack dough, but keto, so I do eat the bread. I just close my eyes and demolish them. It's obvious. Aura's audio's diabolical. Artistically, you could all go against me. I've kept it bottled up. Simply, I'm Leonardo da Vinci reincarnated. Test me. These I jot in an instant. I've got a lot of them in me. So I'm a fan of the slant rhyme, where it's not an exact rhyme. It doesn't rhyme perfectly, but the primary syllable in there is pronounced roughly the same, and it sounds like it rhymes, but it doesn't rhyme perfectly. I like that a lot in rap and hip hop, the slant rhyme. You know, I like it almost. I like it as much as I like the double entendre, the triple entendre. I really like the slant rhyme. Close my eyes and demolish them. It's obvious. Aura's audio's diabolical. Artistically, you could all go against me. I've kept it bottled up. Simply, I'm Leonardo da Vinci reincarnated. Test me. These I jot in an instant. I've got a lot of them in me. Y'all teepeed houses, I designed and thought of teepees and pyramids. You don't gotta repeat me, you're hearing this. Build walls, build gates, make fun of anti-vaxxers. You forgot the Tuskegee experiments that lost the trust. Well, I could just simply relate to both sides. The glow's like I am bobbing with Chi-Chi. I'll be damned if I get imperfect cell. I'll be damned if I let imperfect cell end me. King Kai send me for I think about the finer things in life, like my side chick and high heels singing. Man, the way I used to rap, I don't like that's like my side chick. Like that's like stuff I want to say anymore because now I'm a man of God. I'm a man of God. That's not part of my vocabulary anymore. That's not part of my thinking anymore. That's a past thing. My thinking is centered in Christ. My thinking is centered in the Heavenly Father. My Heavenly Father. My thinking is centered in the Holy Spirit. You know, I'm not thinking about the things I used to do before I discovered the Word of God. Habitable space, yeah. Design requirements. I highly recommend it. Being grounded, having a firm foundation rooted in God is very powerful, and it brings joy and brings. You're not going up and down with your emotions. You're not having happiness as a chemical reaction that needs to be balanced out by sadness, so you appreciate the happiness. It's like once you have God, once you've gone through enough BS, now you can find your joy in God, and it's a joy nothing can take from you. It's like Job. Everything was taken away from Job, but he didn't lose his faith. He didn't lose his communication with God, his prayer life. He trusted it. He trusted God, and God delivered him. Satan attacked him. Yes, Satan had an unimaginable attack on Job. But Job stayed the course. Means of egress: provide emergency egress in sleeping rooms and basements. Show details on plans. Minimum 24-inch clear height, 20-inch clear width, 5.7 square feet minimum area, 5 square feet at grade level, and 44 inches maximum to sill. It's from the California Residential Code, R310.2.1. Okay, there's a 1.5 inch below the threshold. Yeah, threshold detail shown as drawing number 11 on sheet A-03. So telling them which drawing number it is, where they could find it, which sheet they could find it on, what part of the sheet, etc. You know, really getting detailed. That's what it takes. You have to be detail oriented to design a building. You have to be detail oriented to make a set of construction documents. And then we have to denote which windows are egress, which ones aren't, because if they're in case of fire or something like that, you need to be able to get out of the bedroom window. Because if something happens in the middle of the night, you can't be stuck there. You need to be able to get out. So that's a good requirement. I mean, building codes, yeah, this is a building code issue. There are certain things that are zoning code issues. Zoning code is jurisdictional. It varies from city to city, but building code is consistent throughout California. And again, there's the international building code, which is consistent internationally. And you'll find local building codes are derived from the international building code. Bread, figurehead, draw design, and get the bread. Stack dough, keto, so I don't eat the bread. I just close my eyes and demolish them. It's obvious. Star Wars audio is diabolical. Artistically, you could all go against me. I've kept it bottled up. Simply, I'm Leonardo da Vinci, reincarnated. Test me these I jot in an instant. I've got a lot of them in me. Y'all teepeed houses. I designed and thought of teepees and pyramids. Oh, yeah. I ended up actually getting vaccinated for this teaching job. I got the J&J. I didn't want to initially. But yeah, teaching was my dream job, and you know, maybe for the best. I got a COVID jab. The J&J was just one shot. That's why I actually chose the J&J. So yeah, and then when I was fully vaccinated, it was free to be on campus. This was back in 2021. I think that requirement is probably lifted by now. Build walls, build gates, make fun of anti-vaxxers. You forgot the Tuskegee experiments that lost the trust. Well, I could just simply relate to both sides. The glows like I am vibing with Chi-Chi. I'll be damned if I let imperfect cell end me. King Kai send me, for I think about the finer things in life, like my side chick and high heels singing like, I want you. I got this beat off YouTube from Fat Cat Beats, but my rap's a damn stampede. You cats can't beat nanny nanny nana he. I'm not a gangster, I'm a builder who will clap that heat, that brat brat bleep. Let me run back that thing. So yeah, listening to, I mean, it's kind of cool to see the way I used to think, but I've had my awakening, and thankfully I didn't go down a path as destructive as a lot of people in the Bible did. Okay, so here I'm finding the right hatch, filled regions. So yeah, we make filled regions for the details. We draw the boundaries, and then we can change the hatch within the boundary. And it's a really great tool. Revit is really great. I used to be all about Rhino. Again, for schematic design, sometimes Rhino is ideal. But for projects like this, where it's an existing garage being converted to an accessory dwelling unit, Revit all the way. Revit all the way. This software is definitely superior to a lot of other software when it comes to getting a set of plans drawn and documented, ready for construction, ready to pass off to the general contractor, and ready to get approvals from the authority having jurisdictions. You have a lot of departments that need to sign off. You got planning and zoning, you got building and safety, you got fire department, you got urban forestry, you got water and power. You have the water and power's electrical division. You have water and power's water division. You have public works. So you're creating a set of documents. You're getting feedback from all these different departments, And Revit just makes it easier to do all that. Rhino makes it easier to make anything in 3D. You could 3D model a Dragon Ball Z character. You know, you could 3D model the people inside of the building. You can 3D model organic forms, diamonds. You know, anything. So if you want to do a crazy building, Rhino all the way. But for getting approvals, Revit all the way. There's a plugin that's being worked on. I think it's out, but I heard it's not fully fleshed out yet. It's Rhino inside Revit. Oh, and there's also Rhino BIM, which I haven't experimented with. But see here, I'm laying out the sheet A04, the detail sheet, and I'm having the foundation detail and the window detail and the roof detail align, so they connect, so it reads as a section, but you see the details. And I think this is the proper way to lay out your details on your detail sheet. Instead of having them just laid out on the sheet randomly, lay them out so they read like a section through the building. Like using Google is a great tool to verify things, but obviously it's not the final authority. You have books like Architectural Graphic Standards. You have the Architect's Handbook of Professional Practice. You have other books. What was the other one? Architect Studio Companion. You have books like these. There's another one, Mechanical and Electrical Equipment for Buildings, which is also known as MEEB. These are the buildings you really want to these are the books you really want to consult. And obviously your decades of experience, if you are licensed to practice in your jurisdiction, this is what you want to consult. But you know, Google is good. Google is a good way to verify things. I hear ChatGPT is good too. I just downloaded it like a week ago. I haven't messed with it much. But see, yeah, here you need your lots graded to drain surface water away from the foundation walls. You don't want all that water going into your foundation and starting to create any mold in there or anything, or have, you know, your wood, your sole plate or whatever. You don't want water getting into there, causing those things to rot. You don't want it causing your metals, your rebar to corrode. You don't want water being poured into your foundation wall or poured into the interior space. That's why we have the threshold at the door, and that's why we have the sloping away from the foundation wall on the exterior. Shalom chaverim, shalom chaverim, shalom, shalom. Shalom chaverim, hello my friends, peace my friends, goodbye my friends, shalom chaverim, shalom. Doesn't the NextGen Vision logo look a lot like, I think it's an N, but it looks kind of like an H, and it looks like the GSD logo. Okay, skylight details. Again, see, it's arranged so it's part of the roof continuing. It reads again as a full section. Man, I'm having coffee with walnut milk right now. It's really hitting the spot. Line weights. Line weights are very important in drawings. If you've seen a drawing without line weights, you know what I mean. When you start having certain lines be thinner, certain lines be thicker, it really helps you read the drawing. It gives a hierarchy to your drawing. And it's an essential thing. It's a crucial thing. It's something we cover in the very beginning of architecture school, line weights, and really making your drawings read, really making your drawings pop. You'll see certain lines are thicker than others. As for emphasis. But see, sometimes you have double lines, and when you have double lines at a certain distance, they read like one thicker line. Yeah, things get messy inevitably. There's entropy, which is built into this earth realm that we live in. It's kind of built into this universe, I guess. But that's why, you know, we work to keep things organized, to keep things legible, to keep things clean, readable, etc. light years ahead of you, etc., etc. Dude, what was that song? That's from what was that song? That was from way back. Light years ahead of you, etc. Oh yeah, there's the seamless gutter, elbow, downspout. See, that song is not coming up. Other songs are coming up. So yeah, I'm taking this thing that we had drawn and I'm repurposing it to the flat roof detail instead of the pitched roof. See, sometimes you have certain details drawn, you don't have other details drawn. You have to repurpose to this particular project. Dun 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 dun. Oh yeah, I'm drawing in the the roof drainage system. On a project like this, which is a garage conversion, in a lot of other jurisdictions, you wouldn't have to get into this much detail, and the inspector, the site inspector, will work with the general contractor to see the conditions on site, and they'll make sure it's put together properly. But here we have to have everything drawn in, which is good. I mean, it's good. We're simulating the construction process before it's done. But yeah, they would have to verify the existing slopes, which direction it's draining to, because we, as the architect on the project, have not actually been to the top of the roof. So that's why we put in the thing, or approved equal, verifying field. When you put in or approved equal at the end of a specification, it gives the contractor some leeway, because it's not like, okay, this is the end all be all, it has to be exactly as drawn. No, it's this or an approved equal. So if the site condition deviates from what's in the drawings, the contractor can do something that's equal to what's shown, what's drawn, or what's typed out, specified, and have that improved by the inspector without having to go back into the plan check process and waste more time, because there's a time to draw it, there's a time to submit it, there's a time for the city to review it and then get back to you with their comments. It's just a time-taking process, because there are multiple departments, again, that need to sign off, and time is money. Tiempo es dinero, amigo. Man. I am. That is one of the names of God. I am. So whenever we say I am, we need to be very careful with what we say after that. In the Old Testament, Moses says, who are you? What is your name? Who should I tell them sent me? I am that I am. So when you say I am, you're saying God's name. Be very careful what you say after I am. If you say I am weak, I am deficient, I am whatever, you are putting something into the universe that you need to double think. I am strong. I am powerful. I am wealthy, right? What comes after I am is very important. You don't want to curse yourself, because since we're made in the image of God, our words manifest into things. God said, let there be light, right? And then there was light. So we're made in the image of God. Our words manifest. We need to be very cautious of our words. And the separation of one person to another is not as solid as you might think. When you curse someone else, you might be cursing yourself. And what you wish for other people might be end up happening to you. So if you bless someone else, you might be blessing yourself. These are things to keep in mind. These are things that don't always come naturally to us. Man, I have a lot of books here that I need to go through. A lot of books. So it's detail sheet A04. So with my personal practice, I usually do my sheets like detail sheets. It wouldn't be A04, it'd be like A400. So if I have to, then I could do A401, A402, A403, and then my site plan won't be like A01. It'll be A100. So in case I need a supplemental sheet, it's A101, A102. Maybe I could bring that up with NextGen, NinthGen, and we can consider that. If I remember, there's there are 100 other issues to resolve before that, but I mean that's one that might be worthwhile. And it might be a bit more convenient with the sheet labeling. Samson and Delilah was also a crazy story. Samson and Delilah. Oh my goodness. Oh, Samson never had a drop of alcohol, never had a haircut, and his mother never had a drop of alcohol while she was pregnant with him, and he was so powerful. In every battle he was in, he just would annihilate his opponents, and no one was able to lay a finger on him. And they didn't know the source of his strength, so his opponents, they paid Delilah to go seduce him and figure out what his secret was. She went one time, asked him, he lied. The opponents, they tried to, oh, your strength came from there? Okay, let's see. And again, no one touched him. Second time, she went, whatever, slept with him, whatever, tried to get the information out of him. Again, she asked him what the source of his strength is. He makes some story up, and his opponents, they come like, oh, okay, is this cologne that you, or whatever it was that gave you your strength, we're going to take it away, if we're going to spray you with this other. No, he still had his strength. Oh, is this linen, this fabric that's on you? Oh, he still got strength. And then it's like, oh, the third time he tells her, it's my hair. I never had a haircut. I get strength from my hair. Never had a drop of alcohol. That night they come in, they cut his hair. Next battle, he's killed. And I think the story of Samson and Delilah is an important one. Hold on, what were the two? Hold on. What did Samson tell Delilah? The first and second time. The details might be important. The first two attempts to discover Samson's strength, he told Delilah false reasons that he couldn't be tied with bowstrings or new ropes. Yeah, that's what it was. Oh, I can't be tied with bowstrings or new ropes. And later with weaved braids. That's what it was. Yeah. So then he revealed his true secret, that his hair was never cut since birth, and that was the source of his strength. And if his head were shaved, his strength would leave him. Samson and Delilah. So did you guys know Moses wrote the first 5 books of the Bible himself? Isn't that crazy? Genesis, Exodus, Numbers, Leviticus, Deuteronomy were written by the man himself. Sorry, I think I got the order of the books of the Torah wrong. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. So by the way, we're looking at, first we look at the skylight info, then the dryer event info, then sections, scale of the drawings, setting them up on the sheets. The notes that the authority having jurisdiction wanted us. They vary from city to city, by the way. If you're doing a project in LA, it'll be different from Burbank. It will be different from Glendale. It'll be different from South Bay. It'll be different from Malibu. You know, they all vary. And then we have to show the HVAC unit on the exterior. Thankfully, we don't have to draw the ducts, all the ducts. But I mean, I'm sure on commercial projects we would. But on commercial projects, you have a mechanical engineer on board. Then you have your service panels, and you have the roof drainage, which we're doing now. And we're going to have to put in the crickets. We're going to look at that in a bit. And then we have the site drainage. And we're cross-referencing the corrections from the city. We're cross-referencing the structural drawings. And we're cross-referencing the energy report. So by the way I get this video is, I highly recommend this. I live stream on Twitch. And then I download the video after having live streamed it, and I edit it here. I mean, a lot of videos I haven't downloaded and they're gone because videos on Twitch, they're only up for a week and then they vanish forever. So by default, when you live stream on Twitch, the video actually vanishes right after the live stream. So you have to go in and in your settings, you click save video after stream. So then it'll know to save it. But once you do that, it only saves it for 7 days. I mean, maybe it would be cool to have all the videos ever streamed saved, but video files take up a lot of space. Video files are not like audio files. They're not like drawing files. They're not like Revit files. They're not like Rhino files. Video files, especially when they're big, they take up a lot of space. So you can't keep it forever. So I don't blame Twitch for getting rid of them after 7 days. But what you do is you go in and you go to the settings and you hit save video, and then before the 7 days are up, you manually download the video, save it onto a flash drive or your hard drive or something. Again, they take up a lot of space, so you don't want to save them all on your computer probably. But then you can take those, import them into Adobe Premiere, edit them, do the voiceover like I'm doing now, and you have a piece of content that you can now upload into YouTube. You can do long format, short format, etc. I'm experimenting with doing the long format here. And guys, I can't tell you how much I recommend creating content for the internet. Really, it's life-changing. You get better at speaking, you get better at presenting, you get better at a lot of things. You get better at understanding what it is you're doing, because the more you share it, the more you talk about it, the more you actually reflect on it, dwell on it, meditate on it. And it's actually really helpful. Really helpful. It helps clients discover you. I have gotten some clients through content I've shared on the internet. Putting content out there, it really, you know, it's a lot of people talk about this, and it really is great information. There's a content creator, maybe the biggest content creator in the world right now. It's Gary Vee. He puts out a lot of content, and he recommends making content, and he has really good advice, by the way. If you're looking into making content for the internet, I would listen to Gary Vaynerchuk. He's actually one of the reasons I started posting. I first heard of him in 2015, and I listened to him a bit, and I was like, man, he's right. People's attention is on their phones right now. So why wouldn't I want to go where the attention is and describe what it is I'm doing? And he, the way he talks about it is a bit extreme, but he might be right. He's like, if you don't have content on the internet, it's basically like you don't exist. And he said things like, sharing what you're doing on the internet is more important than spending more time balancing your checkbook. And he might be right. In this day and age, sharing content on the internet might be more important than balancing your checkbook. That's crazy. It's crazy. Times are changing. I mean, we have constantly been in a state of evolution, but it's like in the last 20 years, it's kind of crazy. it's kind of crazy how much things have changed. It's really been a what is that word? Uh, the curve. Oh, what is the word I'm looking for? Exponential. It's really been exponential, but I mean, at a certain point, it's going to level out because, like, how much can you continue to update your phone? Like, okay, we had smartphones. That was an insane jump. We got computers. The computers got smaller. The hard drives got so much bigger. We got more RAM. And then we got the internet. Oh my goodness. And then we got smartphones, and the smartphones had cameras, and then now it's like it's kind of peaked. Like, okay, the camera gets a little more advanced every time. They get more hard drive space every time, but it's like roughly the same. But now with AI, that might be the next thing. Man, we still might be part of that exponential curve. Oh yeah, natural light and ventilation calculation. That's one that comes up a lot. If just looking at the drawings, if it's not obvious that the minimum light and ventilation calculations are met, they require those calcs. We got some structural corrections, vapor retarder. They want to see placing that in the section properly is very important because you don't want that placed in the wrong place. There's a vapor retarder. There's a vapor barrier. There's a radiant barrier. And the wall assembly, roof assembly, there's a lot that goes into that. Okay, drainage updated on site plan, A01, and ground detail, A04. So we don't want to leave anything unanswered. We don't want to give them any room to come back to us and say we didn't have things done properly. Information is meeting prop plan. Oh, dimension. You see, that's sometimes they give you standard details that don't apply to your project. But again, you don't just want to write NA because you don't want to be disrespectful to the jurisdiction that has authority here. So you go in and you write no parapets on. I mean, I know this is the project that has parapets. No EIF projections on project, etc. Really, really, you need to be as thorough as possible. But a lot of jurisdictions you can get drawings approved without even showing your gutters and downspouts, because that's something that the contractor will put in. But maybe it's good to see them on the plan, so you make sure it's in a place where it doesn't conflict with the water heater, it doesn't conflict with the air conditioning unit that's outside, it doesn't conflict with any landings. And maybe you can make sure that the water gets into the landscaping. Site plan updated to show fences, /walls, and guardrails. Okay, on-site plan shows stairs, landing treads, risers, handrails, guardrails, and fences, walls, and retaining walls. I don't think we have retaining walls on this project, but yeah, that's a standard correction that comes, when you upon submittal. That's one that's a correction that's embedded into the correction sheet, and that's why you get your drawings marked up also. It's not just the letter size. Bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. So there's a water heater spec, and now a lot of times a lot of jurisdictions are not letting us do gas water heaters. It has to be electrical. It has to be yeah. And I don't know if we're seeing that with stovetops. I think with stovetops we haven't gotten that comment yet, but with water heaters a lot of the time it's got to be electric now. I guess we're going away from gas. We're going towards electric with a lot of cities out here. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Ductless mini split HVAC unit for energy report. Yeah, that's the one that came from the Title 24. See, even I call it a Title 24 report, but that's not accurate. It's a Title 24 Part 6. I remember the first time I heard that, I learned that from David Doucette. I was studying for the California supplemental exam, and at that point I knew of it as a Title 24 report because that's what we called it in the field. But he's like, it's actually, did you know that by that logic, the architectural drawings are also Title 24, and the structural calcs are also Title 24, because Title 24 is the whole building code. which covers all that. But somehow this whole all-encompassing word got used for the energy calcs, when in fact the energy calcs are Title 24, Part 6. But someone read it and just said, oh, that's the Title 24, and didn't say the Part 6, and then now it's just a thing. It's Title 24. But no, this is all Title 24. In California specifically, I believe. Dun, 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 dun. Site plan. Okay, going through here, fine. There's a note. Oh yeah, a lot of jurisdictions are asking for a 1-inch minimum gap above the insulation, between insulation and roof sheeting on the roof. And that's if it's for batt insulation. I believe if you do a polyurethane spray foam insulation, that requirement is lifted. And in fact, when you do the polyurethane spray foam, you can't have the gap. You can't have any gap. You need your insulation to fill up the whole cavity when it's polyurethane spray foam. So yeah, spray foam versus batt insulation, there are a lot of different requirements. The spray foam is more expensive, but you do get more R value with less thickness. So the way insulation works is it's really on the thickness. So you'll see on the walls you got R15 insulation and it's thinner. On the roof you got R30 insulation, it's thicker. On the flooring you got R19 insulation, and it's a little bit thicker than the wall insulation, but not quite as thick as the roof insulation. The way R values work is a material has a certain R value per inch of thickness. So you thicken the material and you get greater R value. And then there's U value. So the important thing to remember is that the U value has a reciprocal relationship to the R value. So greater U value means less R value. Less U value means greater R value. Oh, and then the other thing, when you're using building information modeling, okay, so here I'm making sure that the U factor and the solar heat gain coefficient match the energy report, because every time it's slightly different based on the energy report you get for that particular project. So you got to go into the door and window schedule and change that. The good thing about Revit is, since it's building information modeling, the windows have the window information. You can generate your window schedule instead of manually doing it like you would if you're doing a project in Rhino, like I used to do back in the day. You would have to go one by one, get your dimensions of the windows, type them in, manually type in each one if it's fixed or if it's operable, what kind of operable it is, if it's a slider, if it's a sliding window, if it's an awning window, if it's a casement window, etc. But the nice thing about Revit is that's all embedded into the program. It's BIM software, building information modeling. And that's really the advantage. That's really the advantage that certain software has. Revit has this advantage. ArchiCAD has this advantage. But then see, when you have a traditional NURBS modeling or another kind of modeling software, that has its own advantages. You're more free with the 3D model. In Revit, in a lot of ways, you are limited. But I mean, some people who are experts with Revit will argue that you can do any kind of organic geometry in Revit also, which you can, but you need to use massing tools. And then the building information modeling aspect of it is gone. And it's a bit clunkier than modeling in Rhino. That's why jewelry designers, they opt for Rhino. They 3D model things in Rhino. And 3D Max. 3D Max is another very powerful 3D modeling software, but it's more known for rendering. 3D Max gives you good renderings. Okay, so shower, minimum area, 1,024 square inches with a 30-inch diameter, clear turning circle. Yeah, I've got this minimum. Oh, and then there's the site drainage. Site drainage is very important. We don't want the water draining into the habitable space. So we do two things. We show these in the drawings. And secondly, we type these out as notes. And again, the notes are worded differently depending on your jurisdiction. You need to give your city the notes it wants for that city. So here I'm realizing that, I got to draw in the downspout for the detail. And then I don't know if oh yeah, then I got to draw in the French drain underneath by the foundation. So sometimes it'll drain above the ground and it'll drain out into landscaping there. Sometimes you'll have to pull it through underground and drain it out into the street or drain it out into landscaping. And then you'll have that pipe there taking it, sloping it away. And you have the French drain with rocks here. I couldn't find that hatch. Revit by default didn't have it, and we didn't have the family. So I just kind of approximated it by putting the concrete hatch, which gives you the dots, and then putting in the rocks, and then offsetting the drainage pipe to give it the thickness. So here I'm going back and forth between the site plan, overall zoomed out drawing, and the details, the zoomed in drawings, and making sure that they are in sync with each other. Site plan on AO1 and details on AO4 updated to satisfy drainage requirements. Capiche? And then yeah, on the site plan, it's coordinating all the documents, because when you change one thing on one drawing, it changes everywhere. And see, we're using Revit, and Revit is the best at that. But you still got to go back manually. You still have to, less so here than other software, but still, see, still you got to go back to every view and make sure they all coordinate with each other. And then you make sure the drawings are coordinated within your discipline, architecture, and you have to make sure it's coordinated with the outside disciplines, which are structural, energy, landscaping, if required, civil engineering if required, which would be like grading, erosions, soil, basically anything that happens at ground level with the soil and retaining walls. And then you have your MEP, mechanical, electrical, plumbing. But the interesting thing is everyone says MEP, but if you have all three of those engineers, the order you put them in your drawing set is PME. First, you put the plumbing, then the mechanical, then the electrical. So there is the industry standard. Oh, and then the dryer vent. So we got to make sure it pokes through on the roof. So here, we didn't model in the dryer vent. Obviously, that's one of the things we'll draw in 2D. But we could copy paste it from floor plan to roof and make sure that the vent is in the proper spot so the general contractor can see where it's at. And then here we're required to have the CRC number, SRI number, a lot of information for our low slope roof, which is required by the authority having jurisdiction. Ideally, we wouldn't put that in because we don't know the existing, but the city is requiring it. So I know before we send this off, I put in the note afterwards. What's the opposite of a preface is what comes before. What do you call it when it comes after? Not the preface, it's the oh, postface. Is that how you pronounce it? Postface. But yeah, I put in or approved equal. Or approved equal. So postface. Postface, yeah, it's postface. So I put in or approved equal because maybe it's not. It's a perfectly installed roofing membrane, a perfectly installed asphaltic membrane that doesn't happen to be the one that we specified here, but it does have a CRRC number and an SRI number, which this authority having jurisdiction requires. The CRRC is the Cool Roof Rating Council. So it shows you that this roof has been rated and it's not going to have a lot of heat transferred from the exterior to the interior. And the SRI is what was the SRI number? SRI. Solar reflectance index. Yes, it's the indicator of the ability of the roof surface to return solar energy to the atmosphere. So you need the CRC number and the SRI number. other jurisdictions will have other testing standards they require. So this note comes from the OR 301.1.3 from the California Residential Code. This is a long video. Oh man, and I'm fasting today until for another 6 hours, and I'm already lightheaded. Coffee and water will get me through this. Shalom, shalom. Content. Work. In case you're wondering if I've lost my mind yet or not, I don't know. That's a good question. You let me know. You got what I mean? I'm just out here trying to go Super Saiyan. Kamehameha. But a lot of my thumbnails have been very Tekken inspired. Some of them Dragon Ball Z inspired. You know, you can't fake coolness. Oh, so the gutter. So this is where we start incorporating the crickets. I think they're actually called crickets because they resemble crickets' legs. But yeah, those triangles on the roof that are used to get the drainage to work adequately, they're known as crickets, roof crickets. HVAC compressor. Not even engineers can compress me without getting it. That was a Denzel, I think it was a Denzel Porter line. How should it go? Man, Denzel Porter is an incredible MC, and so is Chris Rivers and the Porter, Chris Rivers. There's another guy, Oswin Benjamin. They have a couple ciphers together. Man, one of those ciphers was so crazy. They went so crazy on that cipher. They call me Balthazar. Don't forget who I came with. 3 wise men with the latest. We the save it. There's the valley flashing detail. Hopefully I could get this video out today. Got things to do, man. I need to get this video out in the next 30 minutes and then get to work on a different project. And so let me know what you guys want to see more of. Let me know if you want to see more schematic design stuff, more design development stuff, more construction document stuff, more stuff explaining the differences between these phases, more rap stuff, even though I'm really in my architect brain right now, but I have some ideas for songs, and I really am not sure exactly when I'm going to get those out. But if you scroll through all my videos, you'll see it's like I had some songs like 5 years ago, and then there's like a gap. It's like architecture brain, and then again there's a period I put out a couple songs, and then it goes back to architecture brain. But I really love this content creation journey because I can go back and see where my brain was at what time. And I can't wait to look back on these when I'm an old man. Cannot wait. Oh, there you see the line of ventilation calculation. And the notes, you know, do them off the sheet, bring them onto the sheet. And a lot of the, part of the job is arranging your sheets so they're legible. You'll see I'll put revision cloud so the plan checker can see what has been updated as a result. And it's not just the revision cloud, it's the notes on their sheets telling them where they can find it, and the revision cloud, making it as straightforward as possible to review. It's just like when you're in architecture school and you have a final presentation coming up. You want to make it as easy as possible for your juror to critique your project, and that helps your review. So it's the same concept here. You want to make it as straightforward, as simple as possible for the authority to check and verify your drawings. Natural light calculation showing that the window area is at least 10% of the floor area of the room served, or that the room or space complies with the requirements in adjoining space in accordance with California Residential Code R303.2 or California Building Code 1204.2.1. Okay, calculation on A02 on left side of sheet towards center. Oh, and then we do the natural light calculation and natural ventilation calculation together, because the light is 10%, the ventilation is 5%, so you just take half. In other jurisdictions, I've seen the light being 8% and the ventilation 4%, but again, the ventilation comes out to half of the light, and it works out well if you have sliding windows, because your opening that light comes in is double the sliding portion that has ventilation come in, so automatically you have that set as half. And then you just make sure your ventilation is over. I mean, your light is over the requirement, no matter how slightly it is. But you want it more. You don't want it less, obviously. And then when you take half of it, your ventilation will also be more. So here I'm drawing in the gutter, the roof gutter. We're nearing the end of this. Sloping it toward the downspouts, and then we have the slope of the roof. It's a low slope roof. We have the slope of the roof going again, pointing left to where the gutter is, and then the gutter really taking it into the downspout locations. And I believe here is where I start drawing in the crickets. Well, I'm going back to the detailed drain. Man, I'm really cutting it close on time today. Do you guys see Goku went Super Saiyan 4 and it's canon? Man, I love that. One last gift Akira Toriyama left us with before he left this planet. Goku went Super Saiyan 4. Vegeta went Super Saiyan 3. He had never gone Super Saiyan 3 before in Akira Toriyama's canon, but yeah, he gave us that also in Dragon Ball Daima. So first there was here I'm referencing the structural. We showed the referencing of the energy report, but yeah, equally important, or arguably more important, is to reference the structural to make sure you have it incorporated into your architectural, so there are no conflicts. Imagine on the site you find out later that there's a duct going through where a beam is supposed to go through, and you have a column going through where a hallway is supposed, and it's like now you don't have your minimum distances met. So no, you got to make sure all that is coordinated. So here we go. Here's the roof cricket, and you can start to visualize it. So you don't get ponding on the roof, so water doesn't collect. Because when you get ponding, that's going to be a point where it's going to leak from. No ponding on the roof, my friends. That's why on low slope roofs, which some people call flat roofs, I don't know if the mic is picking that up. That's my coffee machine turning off. Picking that up. So yeah, low slope roofs, some people call flat roofs. Sometimes I even call it that. But you need to have the crickets, avoid ponding. Obviously, pitched roofs are better, ideally, especially in regions where you get a lot of rainwater and snow. But I mean, I've even seen flat roofs in regions like that, and sometimes they do perform well if they're detailed properly, specified properly, built properly. But the pitched roof does have an advantage, and it gives the house a feeling of houseness. Good luck convincing the modernists and the international style people. Okay, so see around the skylights too, it's good to have a cricket. I'm drawing it here too because that edge, that water might get into, you might have ponding on that one side. So when you have the cricket on the side the slope is coming from, you guide the rainwater to either side to go around the skylight, so it doesn't collect on that edge and leak in. Even though you do have the flashing around the skylight, you still want to have the cricket guiding it around there. And there were other vents besides the dryer vent. Verifying the location of that. Let's see where we're at in this. An hour 59:50. Hour 59. Yeah, right on. Right on time, baby. I don't want to give too much away, but some of the songs that I have, some of the songs that are just an idea in my head right now, I'm really excited about. My rapper brain is still there. My rapper brain, I haven't been able to fully shut it off, but my architecture brain is at the forefront currently. Oh, where's my flash drive? The flash drive. Get this video exported, get it uploaded. And then get back to live streaming on Twitch and doing more drawings, getting more building permits. So then we have the export. We export the drawings, we look over everything, we compile the drawings, we make one set with the architectural and the energy report and the structural. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Okay. Cover sheet. I definitely do. Effing with me who? I refurbished the old shoddy, now it's technically new. Methods with me too, fully loaded deck with 52. Man, that song with Method Man and RJ Payne, that song went so hard. I bring the pain, definitely do. Effing with me who? I refurbished the old shoddy, now it's technically new. Methods with me too, fully loaded deck with 52. I recollect the days when inspected deck would get me through. Oh, no. When protect your neck would get me through. And the pretender. Enter the ninja. What about that? Oh, that cipher with Black Thought and Method Man, that went hard. See, when you look over everything, you find little errors like this, little spots with text coinciding with other text, and you really got to go through. It's a very meticulous process. It's a labor-intensive process. It's a really rigorous exercise. It's a rigorous drawing exercise to get a fully coordinated set of construction documents. So we got the skylight info, we got the dryer vent info sections, scale of the drawings proper, all the notes in there, the HVAC unit, surface panels, roof drainage, cricket, site drainage, cross-reference the corrections, cross-reference structural, cross-reference energy. And there were even some changes I made after this that I don't have on the video because this was over 7 days ago. I'm working on different projects now. And I can't document, and I don't even recall fully what it was. But yeah, this is what architects do. So architects, a typical day in the life. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, I have some ideas for schematic designs I want to put out there, inspired by my conversations with Nico Solingaros and Ann Sussman and Nir Budas I can't wait. I can't wait to get back to those schematic designs. I have some paintings I want to do. I just got some canvases, some brushes, some acrylic paints, and I got those. I think it's been about it's been almost a year since I got those canvases and those paints. But yeah, they've just been sitting there. But the day will come. I'll get back to painting. The day will come. I'll get back to putting my rapper brain to use. The day will come where I'll be doing more schematic rough designs. The day will come where I'll be doing more sketches. But yeah, there is a lot of short form content I'm also putting out where I am doing sketches, but the sketches are inspired by my work. Like I just did a series of, well, I've done 4 installments so far, and I have a lot more ideas of that. But it's like I have a Moleskine notebook that's dotted, and I open it up and I do a sketch pertaining to some issue with architecture or construction or building documentation, whether it's schematic design or contract administration, whatever it is, and I'll sketch out something and I'll explain it. And one of those did relatively well on Instagram. Let me see. Yeah, it blew up. It's it brought a lot of attention. Oh, it's at it's got 17,000 likes and 240,000 views, and yeah, that post it performed really well. It's like it's probably I have like 800 or no 780 posts roughly on Instagram, and it's probably like my second best performing post ever on Instagram so far. But yeah, so this series I'm going to definitely continue. All right, peace, love, positivity. Thank you all for joining. Oh, there's a weep screed note. See, that I had forgotten the weep screed note. Minimum 2 inches above pavement, minimum 4 inches above grade. All right, I'll catch y'all next time. Later.